Welcome to Bedhampton Church. Contact us at www.bedhampton.church. But for now, let's continue that journey with this input.
So today we're celebrating Epiphany in the church to celebrate when the Magi or the wise men went to visit Jesus after his birth. And we don't know too much about these men. They're only present in Matthew's Gospel. And if you were here on Christmas Day for Max's Christmas Day quiz, we actually learned that we don't know that there were three wise men, only that there were three gifts. And it caught a few people out, didn't it? And the Magi are often called kings based on the writings of Isaiah chapter 60 that we've just heard Nigel read. Verse 3 says that nations will come to your light and kings to the brightness of your dawn. And what we do know is that these Magi were the priestly leaders of the East. The important thing to note is that these men were not Jewish. They were Gentiles, or foreigners if you like, because the Epiphany is specifically about Jesus being revealed to all of the nations of the world. And these men were actively looking for something, searching the heavens and the earth and journeying long distance to find what they were looking for. And it must have been really hard work to have such a long and a difficult journey, but God's bright shining star was always there for them, leading them on. And we hear that the star stopped over the place where the child was, and they were overwhelmed with joy. We hear the realization dawned on them that this tiny baby was the Messiah, the chosen one, the Word that became flesh, Emmanuel, God with us. And that's what an epiphany is. Dictionary definition: a moment of sudden and great revelation or realization, an aha moment if you like. Like Archimedes' eureka moment, do you remember when he got in the bath and suddenly realized this law of buoyancy? And so the story goes that he was so excited that he ran down the street in his birthday suit shouting Eureka. And another epiphany moment, this one not so happy, was in the film Toy Story. Have you seen Toy Story, when Buzz Lightyear, Space Ranger superhero, watches an advert on TV for Buzz Lightyears and suddenly realises that he is just a toy? And my epiphany moment was finally, after a very long and difficult journey, discovering that God's calling on my life was to ordination. Specifically the work of a priest. In my early 40s, there it was, crash bang in the middle of my very comfortable life. And suddenly this great revelation, it all made sense. It was for me so obvious, so amazing, and so certain that I sobbed tears of utter joy and relief, if I'm honest. Because this is the response to God meeting us. We heard it in Isaiah just now. The Lord will arise upon you and his glory will appear over you. Then you shall see and be radiant, and your heart shall thrill and rejoice. Then you shall see and be radiant, and your heart shall thrill and rejoice. How amazing is that? And this is exactly how I felt at my epiphany. Like a missing piece of the puzzle had just been found, suddenly making sense. God had reached out to me. God's world had entered my world. The veil between God and me had been torn apart. Then you shall see and be radiant, and your heart shall thrill and rejoice. I wonder if you've ever had a moment like that. My epiphany moment was how God chose to reveal himself to me. After the visit from the angel, Mary, realising that God had broken into her life in a way she never imagined possible. And that star, how God chose to reveal himself to the wise men. Those angels is how he chose to reveal himself to the shepherds. Then you shall see and be radiant, and your heart shall thrill and rejoice. And this is how the Magi felt, their hearts thrilling and rejoicing, kneeling with their gifts, their aha moment. The search was over. Here was this thing they had been searching for. God had revealed himself to them in Christ Jesus. Finally. Then you shall see and be radiant, and your heart shall thrill and rejoice. Because when God offers us that grace, that amazing gift that we do not deserve, our response is thrilling and rejoicing, just like the wise men. That is the epiphany moment for those wise men, finally reaching that stable and realising the connection between the star and the miracle of the Christ child. God has reached down from heaven and given us the Messiah to save the world. He has made good his promise to Abraham. The heavens are opened and God's world has entered our world. His love has broken down those barriers. The veil between us and God has been torn apart. And something for us to think about at the start of this new year, perhaps, is, how does God choose to reveal himself to you? What or who are your eye-openers? What leads you to Jesus? And I wonder if these kings knew that their gifts of gold and frankincense and myrrh, expensive as they were, could never be enough for this King of Kings, this servant king who would eventually give his life for us. How can we thank him? Because God's gift is too generous for us ever to be able to return it. The carol in the bleak midwinter tells us, what can I give him, poor as I am? If I was a shepherd, I would bring a lamb. And if I was a wise man, I would do my part. But what can I give him? And the answer, to give him my heart. Because our lives can never truly be full until we have given our heart to God. And we might have to seek him out sometimes, just like the wise men. And it's totally okay if we have a few mess-ups along the way, a few wrong turnings or different turnings to what we expected. He just wants you because you are enough. A few years ago, on St. Stephen's Day, Archbishop Desmond Tutu died, and I read a tribute to him that said that he would be remembered as the voice of the voiceless, an amazing disciple, and full of the joy of Christ. And I read that Desmond Tutu once imagined God speaking to us, and God saying, "You are precious. You matter enormously to me. You matter as if you were the only human being. I create only masterpieces. I have no doubt about your worth." So that is our gift to God. Like the carol, and like Archbishop Desmond said, he has no doubt about our worth. Even if we have a wrong turning, we are God's masterpiece and his gift. And of mention of those different turnings, the last line of our gospel reading is really significant. The wise men went home by a different road, obviously to avoid detection by Herod. But this tells us sometimes we might have to go a different way, a different route than what was planned. But we do this with God walking alongside us. How does God choose to reveal himself to you? And how will meeting Jesus change your journey? Our journeys may sometimes be long and difficult, but God's bright shining star will always be there for us.
You have been listening to Bedhampton Church. Our prayer is that this helps you journey with Jesus and serve your community by sharing God's love and friendship. Subscribe and join us for more discussion at www.bedhampton.church. All material Creative Commons copyright. Contact us for more details.